Death doesn't discriminate against any particular person or group of people, but sometimes it seems like death overlooks certain people and decides that their time on Earth isn't over yet. Here are 10 people who cheated certain death. Phineas Gage. On September 13, 1848, Phineas Gage was working on a railroad and packing a hole with gunpowder plus adding a fuse with sand. While packing everything down with an iron bar, the fuse ignited and exploded, shooting the iron bar through his left cheek and out the top of his head. Within minutes, Gage was up and walking. A few days later, he developed a fungus in his brain, and within weeks, an abscess full of pus burst. Gage's front cortex lost complete function, and he was no longer the same person, according to friends and family. Vesna Volovic. Vesna Volovic was a stewardess working on January 26, 1972, when the plane she was on, a JAT flight JU-367, exploded over the Czech Republic. Vesna found herself falling 33,000 feet back to Earth without a parachute or anything to break her fall. Miraculously enough, she only ended up with 2 broken legs, a fractured skull, and 3 broken vertebrae. She was unable to walk for a period of time and got the ability to walk again after surgery. She held the record for the highest freefall in the Guinness World Book of Records. Aaron Ralston. Aaron Ralston was on a canyoneering expedition when a boulder he was climbing became dislodged and fell, pinning his right hand and crushing it, trapping him inside a small canyon. Ralston hadn't informed anyone of his plans, so no one would be looking for him. He was trapped for 5 days and 7 hours when he managed to cut off his own arm with a pocket knife and cutting his nerves and tendons with pliers. Ralston's story inspired the movie 127 Hours starring James Franco. Shannon Malloy. Shannon Malloy was in a terrible car crash that severely broke her pelvis and ankle, as well as decapitating her internally. Her spine was severed from her skull, and all the ligaments and tendons that kept everything connected were cut loose. Her other injuries could not be repaired until the swelling in her brain was reduced. Shannon also had surgery to fuse her skull and spine together, which resulted in nerve damage that made her eyes permanently crossed. Isidro Mejia. In 2004, Isidro Mejia was working construction when the house he was working on collapsed and fell on him. 6 3.5-inch nails were pushed into his neck and skull, and the injuries alone should have killed him. However, the nails missed his brainstem and spinal cord, making it possible for him to survive and make a full recovery from his injuries. Ann Hodges. In 1954, in Sylacauga, Alabama, Ann Hodges was struck by an 8.5-pound falling meteorite. The alien rock shot through her roof and hit her on the arm and hip, leaving her bruised and still able to walk. But Ann and her husband sued the government after the United States Air Force came by and took the meteorite. Then Hodges' landlord tried to claim the rock to sell it in order to recover the damages from the broken roof. The meteorite was returned to Ann and her husband, but the meteorite was worthless by then. Instead of being sold, it was donated to the Alabama Museum of Natural History. Ahad Israfil. In 1987, at the age of 14, Ahad Israfil was caught on the receiving end of an accidental discharge blew off half of his brains. Miraculously, Israfil survived his injuries and managed to graduate from high school with honors. The young man eventually got a cranioplasty, where doctors put a silicone block inside of his skull to give him a more normal appearance. Brent Case. Brent Case was greeted by death in the form of a 900-pound bear that attacked him. Case tried to play dead in order to dissuade the bear from attacking him, but instead the bear decided to play with him like a chew toy. The bear chewed on the back of his skull before throwing him into a bog. Case managed to get up and go to his car and drive 15 miles to the nearest medical facility. Nathan Wessner. Nathan Wessner was only 6 years old when he fell into a hole in a sand dune at Mount Baldy and ended up being buried alive. He was buried alive for 3 hours before rescue crews were able to find him and rescue him. Obviously, little Nathan had to deal with his share of therapy to recover emotionally, but he also suffered physical damages from being in the sand for so long, like his memory, speech, and the way he walks. Roy C. Sullivan. There is a saying that you have a better chance of being struck by lightning than winning the lottery. In Roy C. Sullivan's case, he was struck by lightning 7 times. The first time was in 1942 while he was in a lookout tower and the bolt hit him in the leg. The second time was in 1969 while he was driving his truck. The third time was in 1970 while he was in his front yard. The fourth time, 1972, while at a ranger station. The fifth time was in 1973 and blasted him out of his car. The sixth time was in 1974 while camping, and the seventh time was in 1977 while he was fishing. Shocking. Well, there you have it, friends. Do you have a life-threatening story to tell us about? Let us know in the comments. But while you're here, how about you check out these videos? We think you'll enjoy them. And don't forget to click like and subscribe. Thanks!